Welcome back to the Wiki Wacky Radio Show. It's your host, Reid. It'll be just me today, but it's still gonna be fun. And if you don't know, it's the month of March. And it's gonna be March until the 31st, or after that, I guess, the April 1st. And everybody knows what March means. No, it doesn't mean sports. No, it doesn't mean spring. It means women. March means women, everybody, and we all love women. So today, I'm going to be talking about some stupendously tremendous women who made history. And particularly, women who were the first women to do certain things. And I got about a dozen or so of them. And our list today is not from Parade.com. Not a sponsor. It comes from Business Insider. Not a sponsor. And along with some names, I also got some facts, of course. So without any further ado, our first wonderful woman is Marie Curie. Of course, she is was a Polish scientist, most known for her work with radiation. And Marie Curie was the first woman to receive a Nobel Prize and is the only woman to have received one twice. In 1903, she received it for physics, for her research in spontaneous radiation. And then she won a prize for chemistry 8 years later, in 1911, in radioactivity. And then in 1929, President Hoover presented her with a gift of $50,000 donated by American Friends of Science to assist in her research of radium. So, of course, she had a big impact on not all things, but a lot of things related to radiation, which, there's a lot goes on with that. X-rays, probably one thing people know the most about regarding radiation. Maybe. Or the bad part about radiation, I guess, is after a nuclear accident or whatnot. But anyway, next is Amelia Earhart. In 1928, she was the first woman to fly a plane across the Atlantic Ocean. And then she was the first person to fly across both the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. Before mysteriously disappearing while trying to circumnavigate the globe at the equator, which was in 1937. She was also the 16th woman in history to ever receive a pilot's license. Oh, I take that back. Nope, never mind, that's right. 16th woman to receive her pilot's license. And of course, Amelia Earhart's pretty cool to me because she's a pilot and I like aeroplanes. So that's always a neat fact to learn about her. Next, in 1939, Hattie McDaniel became the first African American woman to win an Academy Award. She was given the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her role in as Mammy in the film version of Gone with the Wind. That's definitely, I can't say I've seen the movie. Definitely one of those classic ones that you think a lot of people might know about or have seen, but I have not. Next is sort of a twofer. but it's Judy Garland. She was the first woman to win Album of the Year at the Grammy Awards in 1961. She took home a win in one of the big four categories. She won Album of the Year for Judy at Carnegie Hall. And then, nearly 30 years later, in 1990, her daughter, Liza Minnelli, which I didn't know Liza Minnelli was Judy Garland's daughter. I only know her name. That's cool. She was the first woman to receive a Grammy Legend Award. And then next, we're going abroad. Okay, let's see. Valentina Tereshkova, a Russian lady. She was the first and youngest woman to fly in space. When she was launched upon Vostok 6 in... What year was that? It was June 16th of 1963. She was previously a textile factory worker and a amateur parachutist before joining the Russian cosmonaut program. Next is everybody's favorite woman of history, Susan B. Anthony. And of course, she is the first woman in America to be depicted on a coin. And Susan B. Anthony spent the majority of her life fighting for women's rights to vote and other liberties. In 1888, Susan B. Anthony helped to merge the two largest suffragette associations into one. And she died in 1906, which was 14 years before women were given the right to vote. And then in 1979, it was announced that Susan B. Anthony's portrait would be issued on US dollar coins. Next is another pretty cool one. It is Mary E. Clark, who I have never heard of before. Most of these names I have at least heard of, even if I don't know too much about them. But Mary E. Clark is a new one to me, and she was the first woman to achieve the rank of Major General in the United States Army. She joined the Women's Army Corps during World War II. And she rose from the rank private to Major General. She became the first woman to achieve the rank of Major General. She served in the Army for 36 years. That's quite a long time. She was the last ever director of the Women's Army Corps, as it was dissolved at the end of her tenure. Later in their career, she also became the first woman to command a major army post at the U.S. Army Military Police and Chemical School Training. Did I read that right? Yeah, the U.S. Army Military Police and Chemical Schools Training Center, which is in Fort McClellan, Alabama. Now, next is somebody I've heard about before and have actually heard a podcast about. It is Catherine Switzer. She was the first woman to run in the Boston Marathon, even as officials tried to forcibly remove her from the racecourse. In 1967, 20-year-old Catherine Switzer became the first woman to run the Boston Marathon, even though women were not allowed to compete in the marathon at the time. As she was running, a race official ran up to her and tried to forcibly remove her from the course, which was captured in an iconic photo by the Boston Globe newspaper. After the race, Switzer advocated for women's sports to be taken seriously and for the women's marathon to be added to the Olympics, which, keep that in mind as we go on through some of these other names. She advocated for the marathon, the women's marathon, to be added to the Olympics. And there's a little quote here from Catherine Switzer. She said, "It changed everything," she told NBC News. And it changed everything for women's sports. Oh, no, it changed my life and millions of women's lives. And it certainly did. All right, is next Sally Ride. She was the first woman, American woman in space. She became the first American woman in space in 1983 aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger. She beat out 1,000 other well-qualified candidates. Candidates for a spot in NASA's space program. Before making the trip to space, she was asked such questions as what makeup she would wear and how space might affect her ability to get pregnant. To which she responded, "It's too bad that this is such a big deal. It's too bad our society isn't further along. Which is an interesting set of quotes compared to our next person, Stacey Cunningham. I guess I shouldn't just say next person, next woman, Stacey Cunningham. She became the first female president of the New York Stock Exchange. She became the first female president of the New York Stock Exchange on May 25th, 2018. She began her career at the New York Stock Exchange as an intern and then made history as the first president in the institution's 227-year-long history. And here's a quote from her. "I do look forward to a day when a woman taking a job isn't newsworthy," Cunningham told Savannah Guthrie of NBC in 2018. "But we aren't quite there yet." So nearly, from 1983, with Sally Ride being the first American woman in space, to 2018 with Stacey Cunningham, they both basically have said the same thing. I think, the Stacey Cunningham kind of puts it more precisely by saying, I look forward to a day when a woman taking a job isn't newsworthy. That's basically what Sally Ride is saying with her response to all these questions about her being the first woman to go, or first American woman to go to space. It's kind of silly that a big deal is being made, and it seems to them it's just a thing, you know. They're just women who happen to be doing something they want to do, and they'd rather it not be a big deal. They wish we can get past the whole idea of, oh, the first woman to do this, or even the, first whatever, first disabled person, first one-legged person, whatever it might be. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see that a difference of at least 30 years, these two women are basically saying the same thing when being asked about the first, their first woman. How do you say that? They're being the first woman of their kind to do such a thing. But any hoozles, next we got Joan Benoit. She won the first women's Olympic marathon. She won the gold medal for the first ever women's Olympic marathon at the 1984 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. So a little bit ago, when we were talking about Kathleen Switzer, I pointed out that she advocated for the women's marathon to be added to the Olympics. And then here we got Joan Benoit, the first woman to win the race that Kathleen Switzer had so advocated for. So I thought that was pretty cool to see that connection. But also, Joan Benoit was, let's see, she also won the Chicago Marathon in 1985 and held the record for the fastest time for an American woman until 2017. And then in the year 2000, she was inducted into Maine's Women Hall of Fame. And I believe that's the state of Maine. Alright. Last but not least, we got Lauren Williams. She was the first American woman to win a medal in both the Summer and Winter Olympics. She's an American sprinter and a bobsledder. In the London Summer Olympics of 2012, she won gold in the 100 meter sprint. And then in the Sochi Winter Olympics in 2014, she won gold in the two-woman bobsled. And this is what I think is pretty cool. She now owns a financial planning firm called Worth Winning in Houston, Texas. I think that's pretty cool because I'm a personal finance buff, if you will, sort of. So I think that's pretty neat. But that's all I got for the wonderful women of history who've done tremendous things in their lives and have certainly impacted others. If you enjoyed learning about these wonderful women of history, please follow on your favorite podcast platform. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search at WWRS and we should come up. And please also leave a rating, review, comment, thumbs up, hearts, and all those things. And share with your friend. And as always, thank you for listening.